In a peaceful village nestled between towering mountains, there lived a compassionate man named Elias. He was known for his kindness and his eagerness to help those in need. Yet, despite his generosity, Elias often found himself feeling empty. He could not understand why happiness seemed so fleeting. Some days, joy filled his heart, but on others, he felt lost and disheartened. One day, an old sage named Orion arrived in the village. He was a wise traveler who had guided many people toward discovering their true purpose. When Elias heard about him, he rushed to meet the sage. "O wise Orion, I feel loss. I do good deeds, I care for others, yet I still feel sadness. Why does happiness never stay forever?" Elias asked with a heavy heart. Orion smiled and said, "Come with me, and I will show you something that will change your life." Curious, Elias followed the sage up a hill until they reached a vast, open field. At the center stood a magnificent tree, its branches wide and sheltering all who sat beneath it. Pointing at the tree, Orion asked, "Do you see this tree? It stands tall and strong. But do you think it has never faced storms?" Elias observed the tree and replied, "Of course, it must have endured storms, harsh winds, and heavy rains." Orion nodded and said, "Exactly. The tree does not fall because it has deep roots. Similarly, life will bring you storms, moments of sadness and hardship, but if you develop strong roots of wisdom and understanding, you will not be shaken." Elias listened intently as Orion continued, "Happiness is like sunlight filtering through the branches. Sometimes it shines brightly, and other times clouds hide it. But the tree continues to grow. Likewise, your happiness will come and go, but you must keep growing." Elias asked, "But how can I make my roots strong? How can I remain joyful even when sadness comes?" Orion smiled and said, "Let me tell you a story. There was once a young prince named Adrian who lived in a grand palace. He had everything: wealth, power, and luxury beyond imagination. Yet he often felt an emptiness he could not explain. At night, he would sit alone, gazing at the moon, wondering what was missing from his life. One evening, a mysterious traveler arrived at the palace, carrying an old wooden box. He requested an audience with the prince, and Adrian, intrigued, allowed him inside. The traveler placed the box before Adrian and said, "Inside this box lies the answer to your sadness. But once you open it, you must follow the instructions exactly." Curious, Adrian opened the box and found a simple candle inside. Confused, he looked at the traveler, who instructed, "Take this candle and light it in the darkest room of your palace. Wait, and you will understand." Adrian followed the traveler's instructions and took the candle to an abandoned chamber. As soon as he lit it, the room filled with a golden glow. But then something unexpected happened. The shadows in the room began to move, twisting into eerie shapes. Fear gripped Adrian, and he was about to extinguish the candle when he remembered the traveler's warning. Taking a deep breath, he observed the shifting shadows. Then he noticed something peculiar: a small, steady light. As he focused on it, his fear began to fade. He realized that no matter how large the shadows seemed, the small light remained constant. The next morning, Adrian rushed to the traveler and asked, "What did I see? Why did the shadows move? And what was that small light?" The traveler smiled and replied, "The shadows were your fears, doubts, and sadness. They grow when you focus on them. But did you see the small light? That is your inner strength. No matter how overwhelming the darkness appears, if you focus on that small light, it will always guide you." Orion paused before sharing another story. In a distant land, there was a village with a mysterious cave on its outskirts. The villagers feared it, believing that those who entered never returned. One day, a young boy named Charon, feeling lost and searching for answers, decided to enter the cave. The moment he stepped inside, he was engulfed by darkness. Whispers filled the air, and fear crept into his heart. But instead of turning back, Charon took a deep breath and moved forward. Suddenly, he saw a faint glow in the distance. He followed it, and discovered an old man sitting beside a golden flame. "Who are you, and what is this place?" Chiron asked. The old man smiled and said, "This cave represents the mind. The darkness is fear and sadness. Most people turn back when they see it, but those who press forward find the light of wisdom. You chose to move forward, and now you see the truth." Handing Chiron a small lamp, the old man said, "This flame represents your hope. No matter how dark life becomes, as long as you hold on to hope, you will always find your way." Chiron returned to the village and shared his experience. Inspired by his courage, the villagers stopped fearing the cave and instead saw it as a symbol of resilience. Elias was deeply moved by these stories. "How can I become the light? How can I free myself from sadness?" he asked. Orion gave him 3 powerful lessons. Face your fear. Sadness grows when you run from it. Confront it, understand it, and it will lose its power over you. Find your inner light no matter how dark your thoughts become. Remember that you have strength inside you. Focus on what makes you strong, and never let darkness define you. Keep your light alive. Hard times come and go, but you are more than your struggles. Stay hopeful and continue growing. Elias finally understood that sadness was not an enemy but a teacher. From that day, he practiced gratitude, helped others with an open heart, and embraced the ups and downs of life. Over time, he found that even when sadness visited him, it never stayed for long. His heart grew lighter, and his mind became stronger. Whenever you feel lost, remember this story: darkness will always exist, but you have the power to be the light. No matter how small your flame is, it can make a difference. Keep shining, keep growing, and happiness will always find its way back to you.